On a spring day in 2011, a single spark ignited an uprising that would engulf Syria to become one of the longest revolutions in modern democracy. What began as a peaceful protest in the spirit of the Arab Spring transformed into one of the deadliest conflicts in the 21st century. A civil war that has left lasting impact on the lives of millions of people. This is the story of the Syrian Civil War, how it began, the destruction it created, and how its effect continued to impact the lives of millions of Syrian people. Join us as we unravel the complexity of a war that reshaped an entire nation and captured the attention of the world for over a decade. After Syria gained its independence in 1946, political life in the country was highly unstable, owing in large measure to intense friction between the country's social, religious, and political groups. In 1970, Syria came under the authoritarian rule of President Hafez al-Assad, whose foremost goals included achieving national security and domestic stability and recovering the Syrian territory lost to Israel in 1967. Assad committed his country to an enormous arms build-up, which put a severe strain on the national budget, leaving little for development. After Assad's death in 2000, his son, Bashar al-Assad, became president. Despite some early steps towards political reform, Bashar al-Assad ultimately continued his father's authoritarian style of government, using Syria's powerful military and security services to quash his political opponents. In the spring of 2011, the Syrian Civil War began when people in Syria started protesting against their government. Many Syrians were unhappy with how the country was being run under President Bashar al-Assad. They felt the government was corrupt, unfair, and did not give them the freedoms they deserved. These protests were inspired by the Arab Spring, a wave of demonstrations and uprisings that had started in other countries in the Middle East, like Tunisia and Egypt. People in Syria hoped for change, so they went out into the street to peacefully demand reforms and more rights. Instead of listening to the people's concerns, the government responded harshly. Protesters were arrested, beaten, and even killed. This made many Syrians even angrier, and more protests erupted across the country. What began as peaceful demonstrations turned into violent clashes. People who opposed the government began to organize into groups, some of which were armed, and started fighting back against Assad forces. Over time, the situation became very complex. Many groups joined the fight for different reasons. There were rebel groups that wanted to overthrow Assad's government and bring change. At the same time, extremist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda got involved, trying to take advantage of the chaos to gain power and control territory. Other countries also became involved in the conflict. The United States, Russia, Iran, and other nations supported different groups, each with their own goals. What started as one conflict between the government and protesters turned into a multi-sided war, with different groups fighting each other all over the country. The war created unimaginable sufferings for the Syrian people. Entire cities like Aleppo and Homs were reduced to rubbles from constant bombings and shellings. Schools, hospitals, and homes were destroyed. Millions of people lost everything: jobs, homes, and family members. Over 13 million Syrians were forced to leave their homes, making it one of the largest displacement crises in history. Some fled to safer areas within Syria, but many left the country entirely, seeking refuge in places like Turkey, Lebanon, and Europe. On 29 November 2024, the war took a different turn. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the leading rebel force, launched a new offensive. Within days, the group entered the city center of Aleppo, and on November 29, government forces fully withdrew from the city. Assad government forces also withdrew from the cities of Hama, Dara, and Hom, leaving the rebel forces with a triumphant entry and control. After days of intense clashes, rebel forces entered Damascus as reports surfaced that Assad had fled the country. On November 8, 2024, rebel forces declared Damascus liberated and Assad was toppled. Tens of thousands of Syrians took to the streets to celebrate their newfound freedom 5 days after the rebel group overthrew the 54-year-long regime of President Bashar al-Assad. The green of the Syrian opposition flag was everywhere, draped around shoulders and painted on children's faces as people sang the famous song of freedom. Even for those who survived, life became incredibly difficult. Families were separated, children missed years of school, and many struggled to find food, water, and medicine. Before the rebel forces took over Damascus, President Bashar al-Assad fled the country and is now seeking refuge in Russia. The war also caused deep emotional and psychological trauma, especially for children who grew up knowing nothing but violence and fear. The Syrian Civil War has left scars that will take generations to heal. It's not only destroyed lives and cities, but also divided the country in ways that may take decades to mend. As the world watches, the question remains: will the international community step up to help rebuild this devastated nation? Or will the people of Syria be left to face this immense challenge alone? Let us know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so as to stay updated with our latest intriguing videos. Together, let's keep learning, sharing, and striving to make the world a better place. Until next time, take care and see you in the next video.